anything to anybody. All I had to do was stand up one time in public, and all this would have been different. And the only thing she could say was the only reason I didn't say anything is because I didn't want Mom to go to jail. To which my response was, well, this is a little bit more permanent than that.
Gypsy didn't want her mama to go to jail, but she didn't mind having her murdered. How crazy is that? What else is crazy? Christy Blanchard also asked Gypsy Rose, why didn't you never walk in public if you knew you could? Gypsy told Christy, there are some things Mom said people wouldn't forgive me for, forgive us for. I wonder if that's because you had been lying to everyone, Gypsy. Per your own email to Nick, you had been lying to your mama since you were 6. She didn't even find out that your ass was running around and doing whatever until you ran away with Dan in 2011. It starts to make sense when you think about all the stories. Oh, she jumped on that trampoline, and when she saw her mama, she dropped like a rag. And maybe Gypsy was putting on her own little show. I don't know. Why would she tell this to Nick if it ain't true, though? He also told Nick explaining things to friends, that shit would be too hard. He would like for them to know the truth, but she would lose a lot of friends. Explaining you've been lying for 20 years would be hard. Yeah, I bet. But to what friends? I thought you couldn't have none, girl. Most importantly, isn't it crazy how this lie all started with Gypsy? The whole I can't walk lie. Gypsy apparently says it started with her. There's an interview of Christy where she literally says this whole first part about Gypsy having the seizure and it causing temporary paralysis. I'll find that interview again and I'm gonna show you.
Gypsy was not allowed to date boys. She was allowed to have friends, but boyfriends was completely out of the question. She immediately jumped into how they were planning on getting married and how they were going to get married in a gazebo in the snow.
Was Gypsy Rose spreading lies to even her childhood neighbor, Aaliyah? She told her neighbor, Aaliyah, that she was not allowed to have boyfriends, but there's an article where her mom, Dee Dee, said she was so proud of her when she was 19 years old and started dating Nikki. So let me know what you think. Do you think Gypsy was lying to everyone, or do you think she was being honest?
Okay, wait, girl, before we even get into this mess, real quick, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? Drop it in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, bestie, because this one, oh my God, it's a lot. All right, so Gypsy Rose is losing it right now, full on panic mode, allegedly, because apparently over 200 videos, actual case evidence, are about to drop online. Yeah, you heard me right. These aren't just some random clips either. A creator literally paid out of her own pocket using the Freedom of Information Act to get her hands on them. And they're never before seen. Now, this kind of thing isn't new. Creators have been doing it for a while, but girl, this time it's about to shake the internet again. You remember the Into the Weeds podcast, right? They dropped over 1,000 pages of Gypsy's private prison emails last time. That was already wild enough, but now we've got over 200 actual videos waiting to see the light of day. And allegedly, these videos reveal a lot. They supposedly show things that completely flip the narrative Gypsy's been selling to the public since she got out. Remember when she tried to say Nicholas Godejohn was the one sending her all those inappropriate videos? Well, according to appeal briefs, it was actually her who sent him over 100, mostly explicit ones. And, yeah, let's just say she wasn't exactly brushing her teeth with that toothbrush, if you catch my drift. Apparently, the videos were scripted for Nicholas, not from him. So the story she's been telling, that she was manipulated, the evidence kind of makes it look like it was the other way around. Which, girl, that's huge. That changes the whole tone of the case that made her famous.
I'm not joking. They said it's snowing. She wants to get out. Ain't gonna happen.
Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story is one that continues to divide people. For years, Dee Dee appeared to be a devoted mother caring for her sick daughter, while Gypsy seemed fragile and dependent. But when the truth came out, that many of Gypsy's illnesses had been fabricated, everything people thought they knew began to unravel. Some see Gypsy as a victim, trapped and manipulated by her mother's control. Others believe she had more awareness and power in the situation than she let on. The line between victim and participant isn't always clear, and their story sits in that gray area, a haunting tale of control, desperation, and the lengths someone will go to get what they want.
So yeah, these 200 plus videos are allegedly about to go public, and Gypsy's reportedly freaking out because she did not expect people to still care enough to dig into this. But creators are like, no bestie, the truth matters. And honestly, the receipts, they're starting to speak louder than her interviews ever did. And if that wasn't enough, let's talk about Fancy Maselli from the Good Wives Network. Because girl, she's been doing her homework for years. Fancy put out over 200 pages of Gypsy's medical records more than a year ago, plus something called a master chart and even a 19-page micro-deletion report. Recently, she dropped another 84 pages from back in 2013. But here's the kicker. Allegedly, her friends say she's sitting on over 10,000 pages of records that she's not releasing to anyone. And apparently, those prove that everything Gypsy's been saying about her medical history isn't lining up the way she wants it to.
Well, if I didn't know better, this could be Gypsy Rose hiding behind one of her 500 burner accounts, because I have seen you in many people's comments today being a bully and don't even know what you're talking about. Gypsy Rose has never shown any kind of evidence that she was in fact a victim of Munchausen by proxy, and we're all just waiting for it. The only kind of evidence we're giving is the word of mouth from Gypsy Rose herself, and who can believe the word of a schmurderer? But just recently, there was more FOIA documents, medical records that were released that debunks the story she's trying to portray. So if there are people that believe that Gypsy Rose is a victim of Munchausen by proxy, bring forward the documents and the medical records that prove it, and we'll go from there.
Now, I don't know, but if you're out here trying to convince the world that you were a helpless victim, maybe don't leave out 9,900 pages of context, right? Like, make it make sense. Anyway, Gypsy's been caught more than once misrepresenting photos, documents, and even her own medical story. In one case, she allegedly used an image of herself getting an albuterol breathing treatment and tried to pass it off as proof of some huge surgery. But girl, that's literally a common breathing treatment. They give those to people without asthma. And look, Gypsy's always said she had a complicated medical history, even during her pregnancy on her reality show. Like, she repeated it constantly. I was sick since birth. My mom made me this way, all that. But the deeper you go into these documents, the less that narrative holds up. Apparently, her mom, Dee Dee, did have her tonsils removed as a child, and Gypsy's tried to use that in documentaries to paint this whole generational Munchausen storyline, as if the disorder was inherited or learned. Like, girl, that's not how factitious disorder works. It's not passed down like eye color. According to actual experts like Dr. Mark Feldman, who literally specializes in this stuff, and Dr. John Matthias, Dee Dee Blanchard doesn't even fit the diagnostic criteria for Munchausen by proxy under the DSM-5. So the whole "my mom made me sick to control me" narrative might not be the full picture.
I'm just curious how many people have actually seen this video of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Look at her mom. Yeah, the mom she unalived. She doesn't look like she's in the best of shape. She looks like she should be sitting in that wheelchair getting pushed. Why isn't she? Why isn't she helping her mom out? If she's so, she's a big bad monster. Oh no, Dee Dee, the unhealthy monster that's going to attack an unalived gypsy. Am I going to be so far from the truth? This is how manipulation looks. With her holding her teddy bear, sitting crisscross applesauce, cosplaying as a little girl at 23 years old. And now she's like bragging about her 30 Halloween costumes that she uses in the bedroom. Boy, bye.
And let's talk about those surgery scars that Gypsy loves to bring up in interviews. Because the truth, most of them line up with pretty standard medical procedures. There's the muscle biopsy scar. Yeah, that one leaves a mark, but that's just part of how that test works. You literally have to remove a small piece of muscle tissue to test for certain diseases. Then there's the feeding tube scar. Now, that could have been for a bunch of reasons. Swallowing issues, a deformed palate, acid reflux, GERD, even saliva overproduction. And allegedly, Gypsy herself admitted in an interview with Kelly Riley that she had severe acid reflux. So that kind of fits, right? And get this, she even had 2 of her submandibular glands removed. That's not something you just do overnight. There were years of oral medication, physical therapy, Botox injections, like legit medical processes before that surgery even happened. So yeah, when people act like Dee Dee just walked in with some numbing cream and said, "Let's cut her open," that's not what the medical records show.
Rose said, "It's not like anybody has sat me down and gone over my medical records with me, explained it to me, and transcribed it in a way that I would understand. So all I can say is I have these memories. First off, Gypsy, I'm going to talk about your hearing test, ma'am. Hearing test shows mixed hearing loss today. Speech reception threshold was 60 dB on the left and 70 dB on the right. It says Gypsy may in fact have hearing loss. She felt that Gypsy was possibly malingering.
Now, one of Gypsy's biggest claims was that she didn't even know her real age, right? She said it over and over. But that's not lining up either. There's actual documentation, like a durable power of attorney for healthcare from 2013, where she signed as an adult. And I'm sorry, but if you're old enough to sign legal forms, that means someone sat you down and explained what being an adult meant. You knew your age. You knew you were 18. You can't be signing paperwork and also saying you didn't know. Like, girl, please. Plus, her dad literally called her on her 18th birthday. So even if she was isolated, it's not like she had zero awareness. She knew. And here's another thing people forget. Multiple doctors caught on. At least twice, Gypsy's own medical records say she was malingering, meaning she was faking symptoms. There was even a point when a doctor told Dee Dee to leave the room so he could test Gypsy himself, and she stood up. She stood up, proving she could walk. And then she still tried to say she couldn't feel her legs. Like, bestie, you were literally standing. Come on. The doctor even wrote that he suspected Munchausen syndrome or some related psychological condition on Gypsy's part. So when people say Dee Dee made her sick, there's a lot of evidence that Gypsy herself was actively involved in keeping up that illusion. So now, as all these records, documents, and alleged videos are coming out, Gypsy's entire image is kind of unraveling.
Gypsy also told us she had to strap them boobies down, but right here the doctor said she had hair down there and breast growth. Gypsy also swears that her mom gassed the hell about them symptoms. Right here when her mom was telling them how long it had been since she had a seizure, she said 4 months. When you think if her mom was trying to make her look sick as hell, she'd be like, nah man, she had one last week and the week before. But no, Dee was like 4 months ago. Gypsy said her mama damn starved her, but this doctor right here said Gypsy is small for her age, but grown steadily. No recent unusual weight loss or weight gain. Now Gypsy, you also swore up and down that you thought you had cancer when your ass got arrested. Right there it says lymphoblastic leukemia had age 5 and has been in remission since.
And instead of owning up, she's allegedly going into full narcissist mode. Denial, victimhood, deflection. It's giving, I don't remember. I was too traumatized. It's not my fault. Like, girl, that's not accountability. Here's the thing about narcissists, right? They can never admit the truth. It's not in their DNA. Their entire identity is this mask, their public image, their skin, if you will. And once you scratch it, it's chaos underneath. Gypsy's mask has always been that she's this poor, innocent victim of Munchausen's by proxy. That's her persona. But underneath, the patterns are classic narcissism, gaslighting, manipulation, playing the victim while controlling the narrative. You can see it in her relationship with Ryan, too. Like, 1 second she's love-bombing him, next she's discarding him. It's textbook. Narcissists flex their muscles by doing exactly that. Gaslighting, smearing, controlling. It's about dominance and image, not truth. Their brain, so to speak, is all about their inflated self-image.
This is also when she had a bone marrow transplant at 5. Dee Dee was not actively saying Gypsy Rose had cancer. And in the post that Dee Dee made trying to get donations, she never said Gypsy Rose was actively fighting cancer. She said she had a history of acute lymphoblastic leukemia. There's Gypsy real big in that specially made Mandalorian suit. This report's in 2012, the other one's in 2013. Gypsy was treated for ALL at the age of 5 for 1 year and has been in remission. And if you want to find out the truth, read through your medical records. They ran hella tests on you and you were answering some of the questions they asked. A lot of your damn medical records are self-explanatory with a shit ton of notes to explain things.
Gypsy genuinely seems to believe she's this untouchable icon, best-selling author, celebrity, inspiration. Her world revolves around herself, but when it comes to empathy, the heart, there's just nothing there. Narcissists don't feel remorse. They don't feel genuine love. They mimic it to get what they want. And their skeleton, that's the lies. That's what keeps everything standing. Every fabrication about her illnesses, her age, her mother, her victimhood, those lies built the persona. And if she ever admits one lie, the entire structure collapses. That's why she can't come clean. Because the moment she does, everything she's built, her fame, her sympathy, her narrative, it all falls apart.
Getting really sick and tired of Gypsy Rose coming on social media, insulting our intelligence, feeding us a bunch of bullshit. It's each and every time Gypsy comes on and tells us some cockamamie story on what happened, when the evidence and pictures prove elsewise. Kind of like how in the interrogation room, she played the detectives for a complete fool, lying right to their faces, when clearly the evidence is right there. So in Gypsy Rose's interrogation, she completely lies to the detectives straight to his face. He calls her out many, many times. And she just goes on and on with this story that just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Just the way she tried to cover up the crime alone is crazy. She put dryer sheets under her mom's body to preserve the body. She also took down all the pictures of her in the hallway and throughout the home so the detectives couldn't find her or trace her down. She tried to clean up the BLOOD with carpet cleaner, or what was it, Windex? You can't make this shit up, for real. So to me, it's really just fascinating that Gypsy Rose doesn't think that people have common sense, education, or schooling to know the facts are the facts. And she's doing the same thing she did the interrogation to us on social media. She is feeding us a bunch of bullshit and sticking to the narrative, although the evidence, pictures, videos, medical records, FOIAs say elsewise. She is sticking to the narrative and she won't let go. To me, nothing adds up with it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that she really was telling the truth, or do you think she's full of lies? Let me know.
So yeah, bestie, the tea is boiling. Between the 200 unreleased evidence videos, the piles of medical records, and the ongoing drama, the truth about Gypsy Rose Blanchard might finally be catching up to her. Do I think she'll ever fully admit what really happened? Honestly, narcissists don't do accountability, they do damage control. But I guess we'll see how far the internet is willing to dig this time.
Gypsy Rose's prison emails. These emails are her answering questions about Dan Glidewell. The person asked why they were not on good terms, and Gypsy says, "I don't think we were on bad terms. I do know that his then girlfriend and I had words a few times because she demanded I stop talking to him, and I refused and said if he wants me to stop talking to him, he needs to tell me. But I always thought we just was neither on good nor bad terms at the time of my arrest." Could you imagine going through your man's phone and knowing he is texting the person in these pictures and then taking the time to fight with him about it? I would have used that time to pack my motherfucking bags. But that's me. And I do want to talk about this second answer right here. The person asked why did they stay in contact for so many years? And she said, "It was my desire to still have a friendship with him that I persisted so greatly on us remaining in contact, even though it was something that was forbade by my mother. And God, did I get my ass beat when she would catch me texting him." That's interesting because she tells all of us that she didn't have a phone. In fact, she went on her show and was like, "Oh, it's my first time using a phone." Like we didn't all see the messages between her and Nick. And her mama beating her ass for this was kind of justified. The girl was 19 and knowingly and willingly playing the role of a handicapped person. Meanwhile, Dan was in his 30s and on parole.
Anyway, girl, that's the tea for today. What do you think? Will these new videos change how people see Gypsy? Or is she just going to keep playing the victim card? Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell me where you're watching from, and what time it is right now, okay? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, bestie, because part 2, oh, it's about to get even messier. Mwah.